All right, we're here with Coach Mike Trevino in Lytle, Texas. Coach, good to see you again. Good to be back here in Lytle. Y'all are going to be playing your first district game coming up Friday night against the Poteet Aggies. But we haven't seen you in a couple of weeks. So tell us about what's been going on with your team and how things have been going here in Lytle.
Ever since week 2, we were able to move another mountain, back and winning the Legacy Bowl for a third year in a row. And I think that's meaningful to this community and to these kids, especially to us as a coaching staff. Being able to gain some momentum, heading into the first 5 games of our season. After that, week 3, we faced another tough test with Bandera coming in to visit. And it was a barn burner. It was something that gave excitement to the community. But it was a tough loss for us as well, losing 31-25, to a very, very good, strong, powerful team that's sitting at 6-0 right now. And then we host Carrizo Springs, who's been another tough test for us, facing their slot T offense. They're scrappy. They're a scrappy football team that do things well. Coach Gonzalez has gotten that ship moving in the right direction. And that's kind of where we faced adversity, on and off the field. We lost our stud receiver, number 2, that night with a game-winning catch in overtime to win 20-14, and he is done for the remainder of the season. But he's such a strong-willed kid, as many are. And as I highlight, those kids that we have, they lean on their faith a lot. And we've battled with injuries. We've battled through adversity. And like I just tell the kids right now, as we transition into this championship phase of our season, year 1, it was move mountains. Year 2, it was become the mountain. Year 3, it's time to climb the mountain. And what I mean by that is, in order to get to a mountain, you have to go through hills and valleys and trials and tribulations. And as we've approached the mountain, we know what's at stake now as we enter this championship phase of our season. And our kids are excited about that. We're heading into this game Friday night versus Poteet as a district opener, about 90% healthy, which I think is something that we've been battling the last 4 weeks. Pearsall game right before our bye week, we were down to our second string center. We had starters out. I think that game we were out about 5 starters. But we talk about contributing, not complaining. And that's something that our kids continue to lean on a lot, and they're stronger because of that. And so we were able to pull off, our second straight win versus Pearsall, 28-14. Heading into the bye week, we had a great bye week, a lot of rest and recovery, but also reconnection. I took the time to meet, individually with these 18 seniors, last week, just because of how special this group is. And so when we take the time to refocus, re-energize, and reconnect, it kind of gives us momentum heading into this district season. And we're excited. We know what this team can do. We know what's next for us. And it's not 5 games. It's whatever God has in store, just because we plan and prepare for that. So leading into Friday, I think we're going to create some excitement, for our community, for our kids, for this program, and continue to take it where it's never been before.
Right. All right, Coach, you've had a pretty successful non-district schedule. Now you start your district schedule, and obviously the goal here is to make the playoffs, win the district championship, and the first roadblock you're going to face is the Poteet Aggies, who come to town. They come to Lytle Stadium. We'll be here Friday night broadcasting the game. But what do you see? Everybody's 0-0 right now, and what do you see in the Poteet Aggies? Give us a little preview of them for this week.
Well, number one, I think Coach Valerio does a really good job preparing his team. The last 2 years that we faced Poteet, coming off a bye week, for example, last year, they were ready to play. And so we're expecting the same thing. Year 1, it was a 19-6 ball game. Last year we had to overcome some challenges throughout the game, pulled it off 19-18. So we're anticipating another tough test just because, again, everybody can beat everybody in our district. And that's the beauty of it, just because every week is going to become a test. And like I tell the kids, the tougher the test, the tighter the team. And with the skill athletes that they have, number 4 is a big part of their offense. Number 11 was a quarterback prior, and now he's moved to receiver to make him a little bit more dynamic. And then up front, the defensive line, they have a senior number 50 who has created chaos. He's one of their best players. And so when we highlight and spotlight, their capabilities on both sides of the football is something that we've been breaking down and analyzing the last 2 weeks. And the bye week, allowed us to understand what they do schematically. And then heading into this week, we're just going to polish us and then fine tune what we do best. Because I think still, yes, you game plan for other teams and you have to understand their coverages, their fronts, their best plays off of their best formations. But ultimately, it's about us. And it will always be about us. And that's our approach heading into this Friday night, but also the remainder of our district schedule as we start this championship phase off.
Coach, you've gone through your season's halfway done. You've gotten to know this group of kids a lot better. And throughout this non-district schedule, leading into your district schedule, the biggest part of your season, tell us about some of the kids and some of the things that they've done that have really stood out working up to this point of the season.
Well, I think easiest way to break it down is I'm going to focus on one side of the football first. So offensively, and like I said, this senior group is special. But a couple key players offensively that have really contributed, a lot has been number 5, our running back, Travis Norton. He's a playmaker. He's making things happen. He understands the game. I think his IQ has also increased this year when it comes to our offensive schemes. He sees things differently on the football field. He'll go play slot. He'll come back and he'll play running back. And so,
Coach, you're halfway through the season. You've gotten to know these kids a lot better, this group and how they function well together. But there's always that outside part of being a leader and leaders that you have on your team. And can you go into a little detail about outside of the game and outside of the practices, who are some of the kids, some of your players that have really stood up and stood out out in the community?
I think the biggest thing, and it happens every Wednesday, a heavy group of our kids, attend a church, Community Baptist Church here down the street, and their faith is something they've leaned on and strengthened, over the course of the last few years that I've gotten to know them. And specifically, a couple of kids I know is Princeton Menchaca, who is a senior for us, plays defensive line, standout player on the field, but also a standout person that has contributed in a lot of places, And every Wednesday, I think he's pulling people, someone new, someone different, to engage in their faith-based nights that they have on Wednesday, and that's pretty special to see. We have a lot of others, Jonathan Maciate, who's another senior for us, Chase Guevara, who's another senior for us as well, and just unifying this team. It doesn't really have to be I have to go to church or I have to read my Bible. It doesn't. It's about loving and leading people, and I think they're a huge demonstration of that we see, and really, I think that's why we have the success we have because of everything off the field that these kids do. Not just the senior group, but everybody that they're pulling with them every single day, and it's special. This past Saturday we had an LYP tournament hosted here in LYTLE. And a lot of the kids was, Coach, can I help? Can I contribute? Can I volunteer? Can I sign up? And I think they're so quick to pull the trigger on serving others. And, that's something that we talk about as one of our pillars is belief, effort, service, and toughness, when it comes to our best. And that's a prime example of what they do in giving their best. And I'm pretty proud to see them, on social media, here active in our community, but also strengthening and unifying this team, day in and day out.
That's awesome.